Organizing and prioritizing tasks on a to-do list can be challenging and overwhelming. Here today to help us organize our lives is Nanette Riendeau. Welcome back to ciLiving.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so I see, as always, you have brought props. So what are we doing today?
So we're going to talk about organizing our to-dos. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but for me, if I have not planned it ahead, I will find myself in the middle of trying to sleep or make dinner, and my mind is just not focused on what I'm doing because it's constantly reminding me with, oh my gosh, I have to call that client back, and what time is that appointment?
Right.
And I can't be present.
Yes, I find it most in the shower, where I will be in the shower and I'll be thinking about something. I'll be like, did I wash my hair? Have I not washed my hair? So yes, I can 100% relate.
That's the perfect example. So I'm going to give a framework for doing this that's going to apply not only to our mental clutter, but also later to actual physical clutter.
Excellent. And I think so many of our viewers, I can relate to it, you can probably relate to it, need both things, physical and mental organization.
So it's very simple. It's going to be 3 parts: list, sort, and act.
Okay.
So for the list part, that's what I have here. When we're talking about our to-do list, we want to just do a brain dump. Get it all on a piece of paper or on your computer so that you don't have to hold it all in your head. And some days I will literally put, like, take a shower. Like, everything has to be on there.
Right.
So here's an example of things that are on my to-do list. And I just wrote them all down in no particular order so that I don't have to hold them in my head. Our brains are not designed to just be list holders. We want to free up that space so that we can problem solve and connect and be creative.
Yes, and speaking of problem solving, I feel like by the end of the day, usually I don't have any more capacity to make decisions. Someone will ask me something and I'll be like, it doesn't matter, I don't, you know?
Yes.
And I think that this will help with that because then that frees up some of that bandwidth.
So much so. Because the problem really isn't having a lot to do. It's that your brain's trying to remind you of it at moments when it shouldn't be.
Right.
If you've already scheduled everything out and taken care of everything, being busy is really not the issue.
And then I know for some people the big challenge is, now I have my excellent list. I know I need to call mom, but when do I call mom? How do I make that time to write my report or send an invoice to my clients? How do I structure and organize? Once the list is out, how do I organize the list?
So that brings us to the next part. So we did the list, then it's the sort. So we want to organize. So I put over here 4 different categories for how we can sort our to-dos. Either do it now, and this would be anything that's really quick. It's not going to take you longer than a couple of minutes, or really urgent. Absolutely has to be taken care of. Schedule it is something that might require a little more time, but it's not immediately necessary. Delegate it. This one can be hard for people. Is anything that someone else can really easily handle. If it's not a big deal for your husband to drop off the Amazon return, ask him to do it.
Right.
Let it go is anything that's just not worth your energy. When you go through this, you're like, you know what, I probably don't need to update my social media. Right?
Right.
So we'll make that one a red.
We'll cross that one up.
Right.
Oh, okay, so I see. So the color here coincides.
I color coordinated.
You're so cute.
Yes.
All right.
So answer emails. That's probably going to take me a little more time.
Okay.
Right? So I would probably schedule it.
Schedule that, sure.
Schedule dentist. That's probably quick. I could probably knock that right out.
Or you might be able to delegate that.
Or delegate it. If you have an assistant. Call mom. That's going to have to be a schedule. Grocery shopping. Well, maybe delegate. Maybe you'll have to do it yourself. Probably takes some time.
I'm not always a huge fan of grocery shopping. I might just let that one go.
Or you could let that one go. It could be not worth your energy.
But then what happens? Then later on you have a problem. So I think you do have to go back to how urgent is it before you choose which category.
For me, it's a yellow.
Right, sure.
Most of these are going to be yellow for me. Right, report.
Definitely schedule, right.
Presentation. Invoice probably would be really quick, so I could just do that.
Probably pretty urgent because that's how you get paid, right?
Drop off dry cleaning. That's probably a delegate it for me.
Yeah.
Leaky faucet is delegate.
I like fixing faucets. I'll come over and fix it. You can delegate
it to you. Workout is going to be schedule it. Organize tax documents, schedule. Drop off, that's a delegate for me.
Okay, so I have a question while you're finishing color coding our list, which is what if there is something on your list, like how I mentioned grocery shopping maybe isn't my favorite thing, or workout maybe isn't my favorite thing. What happens when it gets to that point in the schedule and I realize that I'm in the middle of something that's too urgent and I skip it? Then how do I sort of account for that later on? How do I fix that? How do I make sure that I stick to the schedule I've made?
So we haven't gotten to the scheduling part yet, because step 3 is act, right? It's list, sort, act. So act means once we've sorted it, now we have it all like organized, but we have to actually take some actions. So the greens, you just do them. The scheduling it and the delegate, you just tell your husband.
Or your friend.
Or your friend. The scheduling it, that's a really important part. You want to actually sit down with your calendar and think, how long is each of these things going to take me? And be generous. Look at your calendar and really figure out, when do I have time to do this? And then put it in your calendar as if it were an appointment you had with someone else.
Oh, okay.
That's really important, so that you don't have to think about when I'm going to do it. You know you've already done the math. You know there's a spot for it. And then all you have to focus on is the next thing.
That is really good advice. I think that make it an appointment with yourself as if it's with somebody else.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before, and I really like that, because then you wouldn't just stand up a coffee meeting or something like that.
Yes.
So keep that time with yourself.
Totally.
I like that.
Because if I'm like, oh, I'll work out later, then when later comes, I'm going to start negotiating with myself. But if I put in my calendar, I'm working out at 4 o'clock, it's like, I don't have to think about it, I just do it.
Right. That's great. Well, thank you so much for this. This is fantastic. And in a few minutes, we're going to come back with Nanette, and we are going to learn how to apply this to decluttering our stuff. So if you want more information, you can visit us on the web at ciLiving.tv after the show.